Steve Emtman is now a Miami Dolphin, and so is Trace Armstrong, Ricky Sanders, and Randall Thrill Hill. It's been a busy offseason that has imported a lot of talent to the Dolphins training camp. Will it be enough to send the Dolphins back to the Super Bowl?
For 26 years, Don Shula has been at the helm of one of the most successful franchises in sports. Winning seasons and playoff appearances are common in South Florida. What has been missing is a trip to the Super Bowl. But the wait may not be much longer. Jim Mandich takes a look at one of the NFL's most talented teams.
When the hot South Florida sun burns down on the Dolphins, cold water can cool the body and mind. But what quenches the burn from within? Is there an elixir to soothe the strain of not being able to win a Super Bowl, of living with the constant reminder and the pressure which goes along with it?
We're disappointed that we didn't go further than we did last year, get knocked out by San Diego, but we think we've made some good additions to our football team in the offseason.
For Don Shula and Dan Marino, football has been a blessing and a curse. Shula, the NFL's all-time winningest coach, who in 32 years of football has endured only 2 losing seasons, and is cannon-launching quarterback who at season's end will have eclipsed every major passing record in the game. Still, they have not reached the ultimate goal. They have not shared the joy of victory on Super Bowl Sunday.
The press is probably making more out of the deal. It's like win now or never. I don't think that is the circumstances, but you know, yeah, the importance of trying to win this year or any year is there always. But you know, you can't concern yourself sometimes with the media says and the pressure that they put on you. You got to go out and do your job and whatever that takes.
The 1995 Dolphins will not lack talent. Aggressive free agent signings and a cap-balancing act has enabled the Dolphins to load up. On offense, add tight end Eric Green, a giant of a man who at 6'5", 280 pounds will be a force. Green will provide the Dolphins with a large target to catch passes and a blocker to energize the running game.
These guys here, they're willing to win, and they're going to put forth the effort, and this is one thing that I want to see.
Injuries to Keith Byers and Terry Kirby paved the way for Bernie Parmalee to emerge as a running back capable of a 1,000-yard season.
Well, each and every year you got to fight for a job, and that's what keeps us going, you know, the next guy pushing the next. But the main thing is to get everyone healthy so everyone can help the team win.
The Dolphins then called in the posse. Former Redskin wide receivers Gary Clark and Ricky Sanders will provide Marino with 2 experienced players who have lots of big game experience. On defense, the Dolphins finally have an attitude that centers around linebacker Brian Cox, a take-no-crap kind of guy, a player who goes full tilt all the time.
I think it's kind of funny, a guy like Brian Cox, who when you play against him, you probably hate him, but when you play on the same team, you got to love the guy.
It's like everybody is already putting us in the Super Bowl immediately, and like I said, we haven't even played, we haven't even practiced, and we don't know who's going to be on the field yet. I know the guys that we have on this team are very capable, especially the linebacking group, because I've had the opportunity to work with them in the past, and so I know everything will be fine at that position.
So for the Miami Dolphins, all the elements are in place, and now it's time for them to make their own history.
As Don Shula enters his 33rd season as a head coach in the NFL, he does it without peer. Who amongst the current coaches has won more games, coached as long, been to more Super Bowls? But for some in South Florida, that simply is not enough. A season that doesn't end with a Super Bowl is considered a failure. Now as the Hall of Fame coach enters a most critical season, he's once again forced to defend his record.
For the past 26 years, Don Shula has ruled the Miami Dolphins with an iron will and a granite jaw. His individual achievement is unparalleled, but critics say there is a chink in his armor. They point to one simple fact. His teams have not won a championship in 21 years.
Has the game changed so drastically since you came here in 1970, so as that the championship caliber that you brought here no longer applies and will not win in the future?
Well, it's won. I mean, in the last 5 years, I think we've had one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best records in the National Football League. In the last 3 years, you know, when the game supposedly has passed me by, we've had, I think, the 3rd or 4th best record in the National Football League, and just missed being in the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
What does it mean? I've always wondered this. The game is passed him by. What does that mean?
I don't know. I would worry more about it if the guy that I was coaching against thought that the game had passed me by and wasn't worried about playing the Miami Dolphin football team. But I think that anyone that steps on that field is a little concerned about the caliber of football team that they're playing against that day. I'll go by the overall record. I mean, if you want to criticize things that I've done, then compare them to other people that I have to compete against and their organizations. And I think pretty much throughout the league, people are envious of what we've accomplished here over a period of time.
Most of his contemporaries have long slipped into retirement. But at age 65, Shula is not ready to begin his stroll toward Canton. Instead, he continues to relish the challenge of each NFL season.
I still have that fire in my gut, I can guarantee you that. And the minute that I lose the anxieties, the butterflies, the anticipation, then I think I ought to look for something else to do. But I haven't lost that. I really want to win another Super Bowl. I want this football team to succeed.
This may be Shula's best team in years. Anything short of a title will only serve to intensify the criticism of his doubters. He continues to prepare for success, but seems willing to accept the penalties of failure.
Let me say this before you go any further on winning and losing and me getting all the credit or taking all the heat. And in scouting, I've been responsible for this football team since 1970. The buck stops here. But I've always been a guy that hires good people and delegates authority. I try to get the best players that I can get to represent the Miami Dolphins football team. And then we win as a team and we lose as a team. And I'm part of that team. And I realize that I have to make the final decision and the tough decision. But when we win and do well, you know, it's a combination of things. It's not Don Shula out coaching anybody. It's good coaching, it's a good organization, it's good players. And when we lose, it's the same deal. It's not Don Shula losing the football game. It's the, you know, if you get the credit, then you also ought to be ready to take the blame.
The pressure is really on Don Shula and the rest of the Miami Dolphins this year. New owner Wayne Huizenga gave the club millions of dollars to spend during the offseason to try to bolster this unit, and the confidence is high here in South Florida. Still, the team went through a 1-3 preseason. If you're nervous about that, don't be. Good football teams usually play poorly in the preseason. They use your young people to find out who's going to make the club. It all begins for real this coming Sunday afternoon where the Dolphins host the Jets at JRS. As far as the teams around the rest of the state, the Jacksonville Jaguars will take on the Oilers. Tampa Bay is against the Eagles in Philadelphia. That'll do it. The football season is here. Enjoy the NFL. I'm Jimmy Cefalo. Good night, everyone.